What's up, guys? This is Ed Gregory from photosincolor.com, and today I'm going to be talking about the iPhone 8, 8 Plus, and iPhone 10 that has just been launched. And what I'm going to be talking about is the cameras and the brand new shooting modes. A couple of caveats here. I do not have these iPhones here. I have not tested these iPhones. So if you want to get a real-world review, go to another video. Here we go. So for the iPhone 8, 8 Plus, and iPhone 10, there's a lot of similarities. So let's start off there. The first thing is it comes with a brand new image signal processor, or ISP. What does that mean? Basically, that's a little chip inside the phone that processes the image and gives you the results that you get from your iPhone. What do they say that this is going to do? It's going to give you better low light photography, which would be great from a cell phone. Apparently, it's going to make your images sharper, which would be great as well. You can never have too much sharpness, really. And also, they reckon that there's hardware noise reduction, which for low light or anything in the shadows is going to be a big deal on this. So thank you, Apple, for this. These are all good things. Now, a few other things that they reckon you're going to get a wider dynamic range of your photographs. So that means that your difference between your highlights and shadows is going to be stretched, so your highlights are not going to be blown out and your blacks are not going to be pure black. It's going to make your images look richer and more colorful, which is always good news. All the cameras with their sensors are going to be 12 megapixels, but there's slight differences between them. So for example, inside the iPhone 8, which only has the one camera on the back, that is going to have a wide angle lens, which is going to be 1.8, f1.8 and 12 megapixels. Now the iPhone 8 Plus is also going to have two cameras, both 12 megapixels, one wide angle and one telephoto, like it's zoomed in. The wide angle is the same 1.8 and the telephoto is a 2.8. And it uses both of these for things like portrait mode. If you go to the iPhone 10, which is a brand new flagship model, it has the edge-to-edge screen and lots of other fancy things going on that you're paying a lot of money for. That in the telephoto range, that now has an f2.4 instead of f2.8, which they say is 36% faster. What do we mean by faster? That means if you're shooting in low light, it can have a shorter shutter speed, so you're going to get less noise, you're going to get less blur, everything like that, which is always good news. Okay, so that's the basics of all of these things. A couple of other things that I'll note out before we get into the software elements is this. If you have the iPhone 10, you have dual optical image stabilizers. So the iPhone 8 Plus, which has both cameras, that has image stabilizer only in one of the lenses. If you have the 10, both of the cameras, and they're vertical, not horizontal for this one, they both are kind of floating lenses, which means that they will stabilize optically, which is good news. You get the faster lens on the zoom. You get a quad LED, which is 4 times brighter, obviously, than the dual LED. And also, this is big news, and I'll get into why in a moment, but if you know iPhones and the Plus models, so the ones with the two cameras, you get the portrait mode, which is basically you take a photograph, you're sharp, and the background, it makes it blurry behind you. Well, what they're able to do now is the same thing with the front-facing camera, and that only happens with the iPhone 10 or iPhone X. The reason is this: you can now unlock your phone using your face. It can analyze your face the same way that the two cameras does on the back and blur out the background and do all of those things. So that's great news for all of you guys that love to take selfies. You can now get them in portrait mode, which is great news. Okay, so we whipped through all of that. This is the really big stuff. And I want to talk about this because Apple have made, I think, some mistakes in their launch. And this is really important, I think. So first of all, they're saying that portrait mode is improved. Let me talk about portrait mode for a second and how it works. Basically, it takes two photographs. You don't see both of them, but it has one with a wide angle. It captures everything and it blurs it all out. And then it takes one with a portrait lens, which is the telephoto lens, and it finds your focus. It cuts you out like a Photoshop layer in real time, and then it superimposes that onto the blurred background that it takes with a wide angle lens. Super simple. Looks amazing, very clever stuff. And apparently that's going to get better. And I can say this, I love portrait mode. I think it does an amazing job. Does it replicate what I can do with my lens on a DSLR? It replicates it, it does not replace it. Now I want to talk about this. That was this big thing that they talked about. Their big launch for the camera is portrait lighting. Now, basically what this is going to do is you can take a photograph and it can enhance it in the phone and give you different lighting effects. Okay? That's basically what it's doing. Now, let me talk about how they introduced this. When they introduced it, they put up a photograph of a white cyclorama with loads of very professional lighting. And they used that as an example for what now the iPhone can do. So when I test this iPhone, I will be testing it against this image that they used in their presentation to say that they can replicate this. And I just don't think they should have done that. I think they should have talked about that they can replicate lighting effects, not the same ones that professionals get in a studio. But let's leave it there for now. So let's talk about a little bit more about the portrait lighting mode and what is it. Basically, you'll be able to take a photograph, just the same as portrait mode, and it will be able to separate you from the background. And then it's basically adding different lighting effects. So it will be able to enhance the shadows. It will be able to enhance the highlights, things like that. One thing which is called their stage lighting, it will take the background and make it pure black so that just your face is illuminated. So what are the modes that you've got here? You've got natural, which I believe is what the actual phone takes. The next one is studio, which my guess is it's going to enhance the shadows and everything and make it a little bit crisper, make it a little bit more dramatic. Then there is contour lighting. My guess is this is going to replicate a beauty dish. So it's going to add slightly different shadows and things or enhance different shadows. Stage lighting gets rid of the background, makes it black, and it will add some shadows around your face. And then stage mono is exactly the same as stage lighting, it just puts it in black and white. They kept on going on about the stage lighting one where it gets rid of the background. And while this looks great, and I think that you're going to get some stunning photos from it, when you actually break it down, it's pretty simple. They're just taking the portrait mode, and what they'd usually blur out, they just turn to black instead. So it's not that much of an advancement, I don't think. Now, this is the next thing that I want to talk about that I think either was a mistake or I've misunderstood it. They specifically said that this new portrait lighting mode is not a filter. They are saying that this does not put a filter on your image to make it look different. But I think maybe we've got our understandings of what a filter is, because a filter basically takes the information that is already stored inside an image file and it affects it in a certain way. So it will boost the highlights, reduce the shadows, and all of those things. Like in Lightroom, you use filters and you click on it, or a preset, and it will basically affect the image. What they're saying this is it uses depth mapping to apply this non-filter effect. Meaning, my guess is it only applies it to certain sections of the image. I still think this is a filter. It's just not doing it to the entire image. And the reason I think this is a filter is this. Once you've taken the photograph, afterwards at a later date, you can go in and change the lighting effect. Well, therefore, it can only change the information that is already in the camera, in the image file. Therefore, technically, it's kind of just a filter. It's just a little bit of a clever filter. But maybe I got that wrong. Now, something that they did not talk about in this was if the portrait lighting mode was going to be made available in older phones like the iPhone 7 Plus, which had the dual camera. So fingers crossed that they will bring that technology forward or backwards, however you see it. That's basically what it is. Oh, and the other thing is augmented reality, AR. That's using the two cameras on the back, and it's now also using the cameras on the front. That will allow you to do some clever things. And really, what does that mean for a lot of us if you're not a gamer or something like that? That means those Snapchat filters that it puts things on your face, it's going to be able to map that better to your face. So that could be pretty cool for some photography. There could be some cool photography apps that could actually use augmented reality inside the iPhone to create some stunning photos. And that is what I'm excited about, because who knows what we could do there. Thank you so much for getting to the end of this video. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up, definitely subscribe and leave me a comment. What do you think about these brand new features? Remember guys, you can follow me on Instagram and Snapchat. It is clearly Ed. That is all photos in color for this channel.